Coming here tonight. It's really nice to see all the smiley faces and familiar faces for a lot of people that I already know, and Gary, who I've come to know. Thank you so much for the invite, and especially privileged to be able to do it for the worthy cause of autism, a cause that's close to everybody's heart probably in the room, more and more, so thanks again for the invite. Whenever I was given the topic of resilience, I think it must have been about 8 weeks ago, wasn't it? Yeah. And you're given a topic and you're like, oh, okay, what am I going to say about that? And then an event happened in my life and I just thought, you know what, this is how I need to start this presentation, so you'll bear with me. On the 9th of January 1932, this was a date that changed history. History was changed forever, in fact, on that date. This is Miss Agnes Brown, Agnes Hamilton Brown actually, and she was born in Belfast and she was the first of 3 children altogether. She was the oldest. Sadly, her mother died after the 3rd child actually died in childbirth, and that meant that she was brought up by her Auntie Maggie at that stage, who was like a grandmother to her. She started off working in Belfast as a secretary at that time, and that's where she laid eyes upon this handsome young man, David Edward Tibbs. And this lady is my nanny. My nanny and granddad actually went on to have 7 children in total. So my mum is actually the farthest on the right there, and if you see a picture of my oldest daughter, it's a complete image which she's very proud of and likes to tell everybody. This is actually the only picture that exists of the 7 of them together, which it makes it very special. And without this starting to sound like a history lesson, and you're probably going, not here to hear about this, but life changed dramatically for this wee family, this Belfast family, in March 1973. And you'll excuse me for looking at my notes because I have a few dates on there. But their oldest son, David, was killed in a road traffic collision. And it was a police officer who came to the door that night and broke the news to my nanny. Just a few months after that, actually, my grandmother's grandchild had a cot death and died in the cot, and just a year after that, her other son Jim was killed in another road traffic accident, and it was actually the same police officer who came to the door that night. And I've heard many a time my mum recall that whenever she heard that news, just a year apart, that her second son had been killed in the same way, she just collapsed with the grief. So why am I telling you all this? Well, there's a reason. I should have said actually my other auntie died as well of alcoholism. She had liver failure, which happened in 2003. But I tell you all this for a reason, and it's not to make you feel sorry for me, for my family, for my nanny, not at all, because in fact she'd be quite the opposite. She never liked that pity. But one thing that she always said, and it's why I'm speaking about this tonight, is whenever she was questioned over and over the years, did you never ask why this happened to you? Like, why did these 3 tragic events happen within a year and a half? Did you never ask why it happened? And she just always gave the answer, well, why not? Why would it not happen to me? Why am I any better than anybody else? It has to happen to somebody, and it happened to me. But what I admired most about her was her resilience. And that's what we're here to speak about tonight. And I found this quote and I thought this just summed her up. It says, resilience is accepting your new reality, even if it's less good than the one you had before. You can fight it. You can do nothing but scream about what you've lost, or you can accept that and try to put together something that's good. And that just sums her up. My nanny was never one to have anybody feel sorry for her. In fact, she never felt herself to be above anybody else. And it was probably her faith that got her through. right until the end. Just about 5 weeks ago, she passed away in the Royal Victoria Hospital, and she had a fight with cancer, and we were all by her side. So whenever Gary asked me to speak about resilience, I thought, what does resilience mean to me? Well, her life just sums it up. And I thought, is resilience something that you can learn? And I had this discussion actually in the office today, and I said, girls, is resilience something that you can actually learn? And there was a mixed answer there. I am not sure if it can be learned. I think it can be developed, but I think it's something that, due to circumstances in your life, it grows, it develops, you become better able to deal with the situations in your life. But the key qualities and traits that she had, and I've starred the ones actually which kind of mark resilience as well, was strength, trustworthy and truthful. She was never selfish. Unafraid, which is a big one, because there's sometimes in business or just in your personal life where you think, oh, I'm so afraid of what's going to happen here. And she always said, you're afraid of nobody, never be afraid of anybody. There's the ability to cope when things go wrong and the ability to do anything. And the one thing she always said was, there's nothing that can't be fixed in life, only death. So anyway, enough of the history lesson, but I wanted to give that background to show you the type of family that I come from. A family which, maybe in the wrong sense of the word, always taught me that you don't give up. It's not an option. You keep going, you get up, you show up, and you get on with it. Now, I'm always afraid to say that, because in this day and age with mental health issues, I think it's important to make sure as well that you're aware of what's happening in your life and that you can cope with that. But that was my upbringing, that's how I am, and that's exactly how my mum is. So this is me, obviously on the left, in case you couldn't work that out. I'm Claire Stewart. I'm a chartered accountant for my sins, and I see another few in the room. 2 daughters, Madison, who's 6, and Emily, who is 4, and she starts P1 tomorrow. So I'm going to nip off not too far after this talk, because I need to be there tonight just for final preparations. My hubby Will, who is my #1 supporter. So, why do I do what I do? I always share my startup story in a way, and I think whenever people say to you, what's your journey, you think, oh, cringe. There's nothing exciting about my journey or about what I've done. But for some reason people are interested. So I graduated from university 2005, and I studied business studies with computing, and the reason for that was, since I was 14, I always wanted to be an accountant. I know. That's what I wanted to do, and I remember in the careers class when I was about 14 bringing home a VHS tape. For anybody under 33 or so, you probably don't know what that is, but we still have some in our house. And I brought that home, and it was a picture, it was a guy speaking on it, about 65, typical, stereotypical accountant, with a drone voice explaining why you should follow this career. And my friend, who was a little bit younger than me at the time, said, Claire, not on your life are you going to do that job, you need to change your path here. But something inside me said, no, this is what I'm going to do. But I didn't want to cage myself in terms of a degree, so that's why I studied a more general business degree. Got out of there, went to work in an accountancy practice in Lisburn and loved it, but just thought, as soon as I get my exams, I'm getting out into the real world here. I want to be in the nitty-gritty, under the bonnet, as it were, of a company, and start my career in industry. So that's what I did, and in 2009, or around about that time, I was appointed the company accountant for Bedeck Limited, who do really nice bed linen, towels, all lovely stuff. And in fact, my mum said, how many sets of bed linen can you actually own? But I loved it. I loved to walk around the factory. Had a great boss there who actually influenced me greatly. For anybody here who is a manager or a leader in an organisation, spending time to develop those who are in a less superior role to yourself is of ultimate importance, and he really shaped me. I can vouch for that into what I am today. 2011 we got married, and I thought, whenever I get married, we were renting a house, we were saving for a deposit actually, and I thought, as soon as I get married, I'm going to look for a job here with a wee bit more money. So that's what I did, and I got a job in a place called Huhtamaki, and most people say Huda Hu. It's a Finnish company, and if you've ever been to McDonald's in your life or KFC, you will have had a cup carrier, which your wee cups pop into, or I'm sure you've bought a dozen eggs in your lifetime, and that's all the moulded fibre packaging that they produce. So I went from somewhere that was very pretty and girly to somewhere that was not quite as pretty. And I stayed there, and during that time actually, we found out that I was pregnant with our first little girl, Madison. And I'd always thought in the back of my head, it would be really nice to start my own business, but I guess for many of you in the room, I'm sure you've done it, and you think, now's not really the right time, I don't have enough money, the timing's not quite right, and for me that's exactly what I thought. But I approached my boss at that time and I said, look, we're having a baby, 2013, she's due in January, and I would like to know, could I squeeze all of my hours into 4 days a week, just to take some time with her at home? And he said, look Claire, don't even worry about that, go off on maternity leave, enjoy it, spend time with her, and whenever you get the birth, the whole trauma of the birth over with, come and see me. So that's what I did. And with them being a global company, I didn't have any doubts that that would be requested. But I was called in about 8 weeks after she was born, and I was sat across the table with the HR manager, my boss, and someone else is in the room, I can't remember who. And an emotional mother, I'm sure some of you have been there. I just sat there and listened, and they said, look, we've looked at your request and we can't facilitate that. I didn't know what to say, I was very quiet. I just said, okay, thank you for considering it. When I out into the car park, lifted my phone and phoned Will and said, this is not an option here. So I thought, okay, what am I going to do about this? I either accept it, which would have been fine, or within me this passion was still there, that little seed of, I wonder could I make a go of this? So, should have skipped on the slide. That's what I did in 2013. Circumstances brought me to a guy who was a financial advisor, who's now a good friend of mine. And he said, look, there's a wee office up the stairs where I'm based, and I could put you in touch with the landlord. Met with the landlord, and he said, look, it's going to be £100 plus VAT here a month. And at that stage, I know it doesn't sound much, but at that stage, we were saving a deposit for a house. I didn't have any clients, and I thought, oh, okay. But again, that wee seed within me said, you know what? You need to make the call here, you need to make the decision. And so many times we're faced with those crossroads in life, and I just thought, I'm gonna do it, and I know I can make it work. So 2014, I opened CES Accounting Services, based in Lisburn, and there was a friend of mine who had actually bent his ear quite a lot, and he was an accountant as well. And the more we started to chat, he said, look, why don't we go into partnership? And my dad's kind of sitting here somewhere going, Claire, you don't go into business partnership with anybody. It's not what you do. It's a really bad idea, because he had been stung in the past. But I knew it was the right thing to do. So we got everything in order, we signed the partnership agreement, and I kid you not, 2 days later, I done a pregnancy test and realised I was pregnant with our second little girl. And I thought, oh dear, this is going to go down like a lead balloon. So we had the chat. Gilbert, my business partner, was very, very kind and very understanding. I took 3 months off and went back to it, and we formed Cartmel, Stewart and Company, Chartered Accountants, which is what we are now. And people kind of glaze over when they hear the word accountant, but there's another couple of us in the room, we're not too bad, we're approachable enough. We started to build our team around about the end of 2016-17, and there's 5 of us now, and we're continually growing. We have grown quite significantly over the last year, and it's been a really nice milestone for me. I've won quite a lot of awards in recent days, but I say that not for you to say, oh, she thinks she's great. Not at all. I say that because it's taken really hard work. I stand up here and I'm not going to paint a pretty picture about it being really easy. I love what I do, so therefore I do it, and I wouldn't change it. But it's not easy, and this is, it's hard work. It's sitting to 2 o'clock in the morning, it's being up at 6 to start again, to work around family life, it's boundaries, it's all of that. But my most recent achievement was the 2019 Leader of the Year, which was the most recent award, so I was delighted to receive that. But it's been a lot of hard work in the making. Just to kind of bring things to a close, I thought, I'd prepared up to this point, and then I thought, oh, I wonder if I actually got the right kind of slant on resilience here. I wonder, is it actually what I have just said it is? So I decided to Google it and look up the dictionary, and this is exactly what it said. The capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness, and the ability of a substance or object to spring back into shape. And that's exactly what it is. It's when you're down, when you're faced at a crossroads, you have to make a decision at that point in time. And I've had to make a lot of those decisions along the road, whether it's to do with staff, whether it's to do with change. Change is a big deal for a lot of us. But it's at that point, what you decide to do determines your resilience. So I want to give you some tips, because I was conscious that Gary didn't want it to be a lot of stories with no kind of guidelines along the way. So what are my tips? First one is one that I learned from a mentor of mine who tells me this over and over. Typically I'm a perfectionist, and that's not a good thing. I don't say that to make you think it is a good thing, because nothing ever gets done. But he always says to me, version 1 is better than version none, and it's so true. If you're thinking, oh, I'll do it whenever X, Y, and Z is in place, or I'll do it whenever I have a wee bit more understanding, you just need to start, so just get started. Just get version 1 out the door. Make the choice as well, so be decisive. Know where you want to go, know what your goals are, and make the next move towards that. Third one is massive, is believe that you can, because I could have been sat there deciding, oh, I must go and find a job here because I'm faced with, a decision here where I have to go back full-time, and it's not what I wanted to do at that time. I should note I work about 70 hours a week now, but that's okay, because it's for me. But you need to believe that you can, because if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to get very far. Number 4, don't let your past define your future. So thinking about my grandmother who's just passed away, she could have very well have heard that tragic news and stayed down in the valley, but she didn't. She thought, I need to change this, I need to get on with life. So don't let your past define you, and don't wallow in self-pity either. This is a big one for me, and there's quite a lot of them in the room actually, is build your network, build your tribe, and I just heard a couple of the other speakers there mention that. It's so important. I've met Gary, I know Aaron, I think he's disappeared a wee minute, I know Aaron through LinkedIn. There's so many people that I've met through LinkedIn, through Instagram, and I've met them for coffee. Louise is another one. And it's so good to have those people around you, fighting your corner almost, so build those people around you. And I would say also from the same industry as well, make sure you have people around you. Learn from others who are smarter than you. So I've heard this tonight as well. Don't be afraid to employ people who know more than you. That's what you should be doing. Accept change. So change is difficult. Typically we resist it. But accept change, because it will often push you to the next level. Big one is to keep everything in perspective. So isn't it true whenever you hear a bit of really bad news that you always say, do you know what, that puts things in perspective? And it's true, you should live day by day like that, realising that actually some things that happen aren't that important and you can move on from it. Recognise overwhelm. So as a business owner, you will have times where you feel overwhelmed. I went through a period not long ago where I had palpitations, anxiety, and that's not normally me. But recognise it and make sure you take that downtime if you need it. And lastly, and most importantly, be you, because if you try to be something you're not, people will see that you're not authentic. So just be you and go for it. So thank you again to Gary, and if you want to connect him on LinkedIn, Instagram and Twitter. Don't really use Facebook, don't really like it. I'll have to speak to Louise about that. but you can connect with me there. Thank you.